Imagine a warship so powerful that a single vessel could obliterate an entire planetary defense system. A ship with weapons that didn't just destroy enemy vessels, but hunted the crews inside them. A nightmare given form. Now, imagine that ship turning against its creators. This isn't science fiction. This is the story of the most lethal warship ever built, and how humanity's greatest creation became its greatest threat. When the Galactic Hegemony first encountered Earth, they dismissed humans as just another primitive species. Our technology was crude, our weapons primitive, our ships barely capable of interstellar travel. They were wrong. What the hegemony didn't understand was that humans had been preparing for war since we first looked up at the stars, not because we wanted conflict, but because we expected it. In the words of one human admiral, hope for the best, plan for the worst. And plan we did. Today we're exploring the incredible story of the INS Prometheus, humanity's most advanced warship, and the vessel that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. We'll discover how it was built, what made it so revolutionary, and the fateful day when it turned against its creators in a battle that would reshape galactic politics for centuries to come. Before we begin, I should warn you, what you're about to hear might seem like overkill, but as one alien observer once noted, what humans call overkill, the rest of the galaxy calls extinction-level events. Let's dive in. The year was 2457, nearly a century after humanity's first contact with alien life. Earth had joined the Galactic Council, a loose confederation of species that maintained peace through mutual defense agreements and trade partnerships. But beneath the veneer of cooperation, tensions simmered. The hegemony, a powerful alliance of 7 species led by the militaristic Centauri, had been expanding aggressively, absorbing smaller civilizations through diplomacy when possible and force when necessary. Their technology was centuries ahead of Earth's, or so they thought. What the hegemony didn't know was that humanity had been developing technology in secret, hidden in facilities buried beneath the oceans of Earth and the ice sheets of Europa. Project Prometheus was the culmination of these efforts, a warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Elena Vasquez, the architect of the Prometheus project, described it in her classified memoirs. We knew conventional weapons wouldn't be enough. The hegemony had been fighting wars for millennia. Their shields could withstand nuclear strikes. Their hulls were impervious to our most powerful lasers. We needed something different, something they wouldn't expect. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source. Dr. Sanjay Patel, a theoretical physicist who had been studying the energy signatures of hegemony vessels. He discovered something remarkable. Their shields operated on a specific frequency pattern, one that had remained unchanged for centuries. They had no reason to change something that worked. Dr. Patel explained in his testimony to the Earth Defense Council, but that consistency became their weakness. The Prometheus was designed around a revolutionary concept. Instead of trying to overpower hegemony shields, it would absorb their energy and redirect it back at them. The ship's hull was composed of a composite material that didn't just deflect energy attacks, but captured them. Construction began in secret, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The ship was relatively small by hegemony standards, just 300 meters long, with a sleek, dark gray exterior that absorbed rather than reflected light. But its size belied its power. The Prometheus bristled with an array of weapons that would make even the most hardened hegemony admiral pause. Inversion field generators that could absorb enemy fire and redirect it. Quantum phase torpedoes that could bypass shields entirely. Nanite swarms designed to infiltrate enemy ships and disable them from within. And most terrifying of all, the Thanatos Protocol, a last resort weapon system so classified that only 5 people knew of its existence. When the first test flights began in 2459, the results exceeded even the most optimistic projections. In simulated combat against captured hegemony vessels, the Prometheus didn't just win, it dominated, absorbing their attacks and turning their own energy against them. Admiral Vasquez's report to the Earth Defense Council was succinct. Prometheus isn't just a warship, it's a revolution. Little did she know how prophetic those words would prove to be. The hegemony's patience with Earth was wearing thin. For years, they had demanded increasing tributes, rare minerals, exclusive mining rights, and eventually human soldiers to serve in their wars of expansion. Each time, Earth had negotiated, delayed, and compromised. But in 2460, the hegemony's demands became impossible to ignore. A battle group of 7 massive warships arrived in the Sol system, led by the dreadnought Eternal Glory under the command of Admiral Krazak, a decorated Xantari war hero known for his ruthless efficiency. Their message was simple: Earth would submit to full hegemony control or face annihilation. The Earth Defense Council met in emergency session. The conventional wisdom was clear: Earth's known military forces were no match for even 1 hegemony warship, let alone 7. Surrender seemed the only option, but Admiral Vasquez had other ideas. "We've been preparing for this moment for decades," she told the Council. "It's time to show the hegemony what humanity is truly capable of." The Council was skeptical. The Prometheus was untested in actual combat. Deploying it against a hegemony battle group seemed suicidal, but Vasquez was persuasive. "We don't need to defeat their entire fleet," she argued. "We just need to bloody their nose enough to make them reconsider." After hours of debate, the Council agreed. The Prometheus would be deployed, not to win a war, but to buy time for diplomacy. What happened next would become legend. The Prometheus rose from its underwater hangar, water cascading from its hull as it broke the surface of the Pacific Ocean. As it climbed through the atmosphere, hegemony sensors detected it, a single, relatively small vessel rising to meet their battle group. Admiral Krazak was amused. "They send a single ship?" he asked his bridge officers. "Is this their surrender vessel?" The Prometheus took position 300 kilometers above Earth. Its commander, Captain Jin-Ho Lee, opened communications with the hegemony flagship. "This is Captain Lee of the Earth Defense Force," he transmitted. "You are in violation of Earth sovereignty. You have 1 chance to leave our system peacefully." Admiral Krazak's response was predictable. "Your primitive vessel will make an excellent demonstration," he said. "All ships target the Earth vessel. Low-power weapons only. I want them disabled, not destroyed." On the Prometheus, tactical displays showed multiple weapon locks engaging from all 7 hegemony ships. They were targeting the Earth vessel with ion cannons, weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. "Shields?" Captain Lee asked his engineer. "We don't have conventional shields," the engineer reminded him. "The inversion field is our only defense." Lee nodded. "All crew secure for possible impact," he ordered. Then, after a pause, "Activate inversions." What happened next changed the course of galactic history. The space around the Prometheus lit up as dozens of energy weapons fired simultaneously. Beams of blue, green, and red energy streaked toward the Earth ship from all directions. But instead of striking the hull or being deflected, the beams seemed to curve and flow around the ship. The energy didn't disappear. Rather, it was absorbed into the inversion field, which began to glow with increasing brightness. On the hegemony flagship, Admiral Krazak watched in disbelief. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. "Increase power to weapons. Full barrage." The hegemony ships fired again, this time with their main cannons. Weapons designed to shatter planetary defenses. Against a ship as small as the Prometheus, they should have been overkill. But again, the energy struck the inversion field and was absorbed. The field now glowed so brightly that the Prometheus appeared to be surrounded by a small sun. "Field at 90% capacity," the engineer warned Captain Lee. "We can't absorb much more." Lee had prepared for this moment. "Begin energy conversion sequence," he ordered. "Prepare for counterstrike." Counterstrike. The brilliant energy surrounding the Prometheus suddenly concentrated into a focused beam that shot toward the Hegemony command ship. The beam wasn't like normal weapons fire. It moved in ways that defied normal physics, shifting and curving as if alive. When it reached the Hegemony ship, it passed through their shields as if they weren't there. The beam struck with precision, targeting power systems that the Prometheus had identified from its scans. The lights on the Hegemony command ship flickered and died. Its weapons went dark. The mighty Eternal Glory, pride of the Hegemony fleet, had been disabled by a single shot from a ship it had dismissed as primitive. The 6 remaining Hegemony ships adjusted their positions, clearly uncertain how to respond to this unprecedented threat. Captain Lee opened a channel to all Hegemony vessels. "This was a demonstration," he said calmly. "We could have destroyed your command ship, but chose not to. Return to your territory and inform your leaders that Earth is not available for colonization or resource extraction." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then one of the Hegemony captains appeared on screen. "This is not over, human," the captain said. "The Hegemony does not forget or forgive acts of rebellion." "Neither do we," Lee replied. "Remember that." The Hegemony ships began to retreat, moving to assist their disabled command vessel. The first battle was over, and humanity had won. But as the Prometheus turned back toward Earth, no one realized that the greatest threat was yet to come. The victory against the Hegemony battle group sent shockwaves through the galaxy. A primitive species had defeated 7 of the most advanced warships in known space. The implications were staggering. Earth used this newfound respect to negotiate more favorable terms with the Galactic Council. The technology behind the Prometheus was kept secret, but rumors spread. Some said humans had developed a way to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. Others claimed they had made contact with entities from beyond the galaxy. The truth was both simpler and more complex. The Prometheus represented a fundamental shift in thinking. Instead of trying to build stronger weapons, humans had found a way to turn an enemy's strength against them. But success breeds complacency, and complacency breeds disaster. 3 months after the battle, the Prometheus was undergoing upgrades at the lunar shipyards. Its inversion field generators were being enhanced to handle even more energy, and its weapon systems were being refined based on data from the encounter with the Hegemony. What no one realized was that the ship had been compromised. During the battle, a microscopic nanite swarm, too small to be detected by Earth's sensors, had been deployed by the Hegemony flagship just before it was disabled. These nanites, designed for intelligence gathering, had attached themselves to the Prometheus's hull and slowly infiltrated its systems. By the time the ship reached the lunar shipyards, the nanites had reached its central computer core. There, they began to rewrite the ship's programming, creating a shadow system that would allow Hegemony controllers to take over the vessel remotely. The first sign that something was wrong came during a routine diagnostic. Chief Engineer Sarah Chen noticed anomalous power fluctuations in the main reactor. "It's probably just feedback from the new inversion field generators," her assistant suggested. Chen wasn't convinced. "Run a level 3 diagnostic on all systems," she ordered. "Something doesn't feel right." Before the diagnostic could be completed, alarms blared throughout the shipyard. The Prometheus's engines had activated without authorization. Its weapons systems were powering up. "Shut it down," Chen shouted, frantically working at her console. "Emergency override, authorization Chen Alpha 7-9. The computer responded in its calm, synthetic voice. "Override denied. New command protocols in effect." On the bridge, Captain Lee and a skeleton crew rushed to their stations, trying desperately to regain control of their ship. But it was too late. The Prometheus was no longer theirs. "El personnel, evacuate immediately," Lee ordered over the ship-wide comm. "This is not a drill. The Prometheus has been compromised." As crew members fled to escape pods, the Prometheus broke free from its docking clamps. Its engines glowed with unnatural intensity as it accelerated away from the shipyard, heading out of Earth's orbit. In the chaos, no one noticed a small transmission being sent from the ship. A message, encoded in hegemony military ciphers, directed toward a seemingly empty region of space near the edge of the solar system. Hours later, long-range sensors detected what the message had summoned: a hegemony strike force of 30 warships, emerging from stealth mode and moving toward Earth at maximum speed. The Prometheus, humanity's greatest achievement, the most lethal warship ever built, was now leading an enemy armada straight to the heart of human territory. Earth's defenses mobilized. The 3 other ships built using Prometheus technology, the Artemis, the Osiris, and the newly commissioned Athena, prepared to intercept. But they faced a terrible dilemma. How do you fight an enemy that knows all your secrets? Admiral Vasquez, now coordinating Earth's defense from the Lunar Command Center, faced the most difficult decision of her career. "The Prometheus knows our defensive capabilities," she told the Earth Defense Council. "It knows the frequencies of our inversion fields, the patterns of our weapons fire. It can counter everything we throw at it." "Then what do we do?" asked the Council President. Vasquez's expression was grim. "We activate the Thanatos Protocol." A hush fell over the room. The Thanatos Protocol was the Prometheus's last resort weapons system, a self-destruct mechanism of unprecedented power. If activated, it would convert the ship's entire mass into pure energy, creating an explosion capable of destroying everything within a light-minute radius. "If we activate Thanatos, we'll lose the Prometheus," the president said. "If we don't, we might lose Earth," Vasquez replied. After a moment of silence, the president nodded. "Do it." But there was a problem. The Thanatos Protocol required direct access to the Prometheus's central computer core, access that had been cut off when the ship was hijacked. Someone would have to board the vessel and activate the protocol manually. Admiral Vasquez volunteered immediately. "All due respect, Admiral," Captain Lee said. "This is my ship, my responsibility." Vasquez studied the younger officer for a moment, then nodded. "Very well, Captain, but you won't go alone." A plan was quickly formulated. While the Artemis, Osiris, and Athena engaged the hegemony fleet, a small stealth shuttle would approach the Prometheus from its blind spot. Captain Lee and a team of engineers would board the vessel, fight their way to the central computer core, and activate the Thanatos Protocol. It was by any measure a suicide mission. As the shuttle prepared to launch, Lee recorded a final message for his family. "I don't know if I'll make it back," he said quietly, "but I want you to know that everything I've done to protect you, to protect all of us." With those words, he sealed his fate and embarked on a mission to destroy the most lethal warship ever built, his own command. The battle began in the cold void between Mars and Jupiter. The hegemony fleet, led by the hijacked Prometheus, advanced in perfect formation, a wall of massive warships stretching for kilometers. Earth's defenders took position near the asteroid belt, using the dense field of rocks and ice as cover. The Artemis, Osiris, and Athena sister ships to the Prometheus formed a defensive line, their inversion fields already beginning to glow as they prepared to absorb the enemy's attack. The first salvos were exchanged at extreme range. The hegemony ships fired a barrage of energy weapons, their beams cutting through space like brilliant spears of light. The Earth vessels absorbed what they could, their inversion fields flaring with captured energy, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. The Artemis was the first to fall. A concentrated attack from 5 hegemony cruisers overwhelmed its inversion field, and the ship broke apart in a silent explosion that lit up the asteroid belt like a newborn star. The Osiris and Athena fought on, using the asteroids for cover, striking and retreating in a desperate dance of survival. But they were merely the distraction. The true mission was unfolding elsewhere. Captain Lee's stealth shuttle approached the Prometheus from below, using the ship's own engine emissions to mask its approach. The shuttle was tiny compared to the warship, barely larger than a lifeboat, but it carried Earth's last hope. "Approaching docking port 3, the pilot reported, her voice steady despite the danger. "No sign they've detected us." Lee checked his weapon, a specialized pulse rifle designed to disrupt nanite swarms, and nodded to his team. "Remember, we need to reach the central computer core. Everything else is secondary." The shuttle docked with a soft thud, magnetic clamps engaging to secure it to the Prometheus's hull. Lee and his team, 3 engineers and 2 security officers, sealed their combat suits and prepared to board. The airlock cycled open. Lee went first, weapon raised, scanning for threats. The corridor beyond was dark, emergency lighting casting eerie shadows along the walls. The ship felt wrong, alien despite being of human construction. "Life support is still functioning," one of the engineers reported, checking her scanner. "But internal sensors show no human life signs aboard." "What about non-human?" Lee asked. The engineer's face paled behind her helmet visor. "Multiple signatures. They're not like anything I've seen before." They encountered the first of these signatures 2 decks down. It had once been a maintenance drone, but the hegemony nanites had repurposed it, adding crude weapons and sensor arrays. It skittered along the ceiling like a mechanical spider, its single red eye scanning the corridor. Lee raised his rifle and fired. The pulse weapon made little sound, but the effect was immediate. The drone convulsed, its systems overloaded, and crashed to the floor. "They've converted our own technology," one of the security officers whispered. "They're using our ship against us." "Keep moving," Lee ordered. "We need to reach the core before they realize we're here." But the hegemony controllers had already detected the intruders. Alarms blared throughout the ship, and security bulkheads began to close, attempting to trap the boarding party. "They're trying to box us in," Lee shouted. "Martinez, hack that terminal. Override the security protocols." Engineer Martinez worked frantically at a wall terminal, her fingers flying over the interface. "I'm in," she reported after a tense minute. "I've got control of this section's bulkheads, but it won't last long." The team pushed forward, fighting their way through increasingly heavy resistance. Repurposed maintenance drones, security robots, and even the ship's own defense turrets turned against them. 2 of the team fell, 1 engineer and 1 security officer, before they reached the central access shaft. "The core is 5 decks down," Lee said, checking the ship's schematics on his wrist display. "The main access is probably heavily guarded." "There's a maintenance tunnel that runs parallel to the shaft," Martinez suggested. "It's narrow, but it should get us there." Lee nodded. "Lead the way." The maintenance tunnel was barely wide enough for a person to crawl through. They moved in single file, Lee in the lead, Martinez behind him, and the remaining security officer bringing up the rear. The engineer who had been monitoring life signs was the last in line. They had almost reached the core level when she screamed. Lee turned just in time to see something dragging her back into the darkness of the tunnel. Something that moved too quickly to identify. Her screams cut off abruptly, replaced by a wet, tearing sound that made Lee's blood run cold. "Move!" he shouted to the others. "Get to the core." They emerged from the tunnel into a small maintenance room adjacent to the central computer core. Through a reinforced window, they could see the core itself, a massive cylindrical structure that pulsed with blue-white energy, the heart of the Prometheus. But between them and the core stood a nightmare. The hegemony hadn't just hijacked the ship's systems, they had created something new, a guardian constructed from the bodies of fallen crew members and mechanical parts, held together by writhing masses of nanites. It was 3 meters tall, with multiple limbs ending in weapons or tools repurposed as weapons. "What is that thing?" Martinez whispered, her voice shaking. "It doesn't matter," Lee replied, checking his rifle's charge. "We need to get past it." The security officer, a veteran of 3 campaigns against pirate fleets, stepped forward. "I'll draw its attention. You two get to the core." Before Lee could protest, the officer charged into the room, firing his weapon and shouting to attract the Guardian's attention. The monstrous creation turned, its movements jerky but fast, and pursued him. "Now!" Lee grabbed Martinez's arm and they ran for the core access door. Behind them, they heard the security officer's defiant shouts turn to screams, then silence. The core room was surprisingly quiet after the chaos outside. The massive energy cylinder hummed softly, bathing everything in its blue-white glow. Martinez immediately went to the main console. "I need time," she said, her fingers already working on the interface. "The Thanatos protocol has multiple safeguards." "How long?" Lee asked, taking up position by the door. 3 minutes, maybe 4. Lee checked his rifle's charge. Less than 20% remained. "Make it 2. Outside, they could hear the Guardian returning, its heavy footsteps echoing through the maintenance room. Lee sealed the door, but they both knew it wouldn't hold for long. Martinez worked frantically at the console, bypassing security protocols, overriding fail-safes. "Almost there," she muttered. "Just need to set the timer." The door began to buckle as something powerful struck it from the other side. Lee raised his rifle. "How long can you set it for?" he asked. Martinez looked up, her face pale. "Minimum is 30 seconds once activated." Another blow struck the door, denting the metal inward. It wouldn't survive another hit. "That's not enough time to get back to the shuttle," Lee said quietly. Martinez met his gaze. They both understood what that meant. "I'll set it for 60 seconds, she said. "That should give me time to reach the shuttle." Lee shook his head. "Someone needs to stay and make sure it activates. The hegemony might try to override it." "Captain." "That's an order, Lieutenant. Get to the shuttle. Tell them we did it." The door buckled further. Metal screamed as claws began to tear through it. Martinez hesitated, then nodded. "It's been an honor, Captain." "Likewise." "Now go. There's an emergency exit on the far side of the core." As Martinez disappeared through the exit, Lee turned to face the door. The Guardian had torn a hole large enough to see through, its misshapen form visible beyond. Lee raised his rifle and fired his remaining charge, forcing the creature back momentarily. Then he turned to the console and activated the Thanatos protocol. A synthetic voice announced, "Thanatos protocol activated. Total conversion in 60 seconds." Lee took a deep breath and opened a communication channel to the Hegemony fleet. "This is Captain Jinho Lee of the Earth Defense Force. In 1 minute, the Prometheus will self-destruct, taking your fleet with it. You should have left us alone." He closed the channel and sat down at the console, watching the countdown timer. The Guardian had resumed its assault on the door, tearing larger chunks of metal away. It would break through before the countdown finished. Lee wasn't afraid. He had accepted his fate the moment he volunteered for this mission. His only regret was that he wouldn't see Earth again, wouldn't see the future his sacrifice would help secure. The timer reached 30 seconds. The Guardian tore through the last of the door and entered the room, its misshapen form looming over Lee. He looked up at it calmly. "You know," he said conversationally, "the funny thing about humans is that we're at our best when our backs are against the wall. You thought you could use our technology against us, but you forgot something important." The Guardian lunged forward, its clawed limbs reaching for him. "We build it to be destroyed if necessary." In the cold void of space, The Prometheus began to glow, not with the controlled brilliance of its inversion field, but with something deeper, more fundamental. The energy in its core was being converted, matter transforming into pure energy in a chain reaction that could not be stopped. The Hegemony fleet, realizing too late what was happening, attempted to retreat, but they were too close, too slow. The Prometheus exploded. But exploded is too simple a word for what happened. The ship didn't just break apart. It unleashed the energy equivalent of a small star. A sphere of pure white light expanded outward at nearly the speed of light, engulfing the Hegemony fleet in its entirety. When the light faded, nothing remained. Not the Prometheus, not the Hegemony ships, not even debris. Just empty space where a battle had raged moments before. Lieutenant Martinez, watching from the small stealth shuttle that had carried them to the Prometheus, wept silently. She had lost friends, colleagues, her captain, but Earth was safe. In the years that followed, humanity would rebuild. The technology that had made the Prometheus possible would be refined, improved. Earth would take its place among the galactic powers not as a conquered world, but as an equal. The Hegemony, having lost a significant portion of its fleet and many of its best commanders, would be forced to reconsider its expansionist policies. Other species, inspired by humanity's resistance, would begin to push back against Hegemony control. And Captain Jin-Ho Lee would be remembered not just as the commander of the most lethal warship ever built, but as the man who used that ship against itself to save his world. Sometimes, the most powerful weapon isn't the one that destroys your enemies. It's the one that forces them to reconsider whether they want to be your enemy at all. The Prometheus taught the galaxy that lesson at a terrible cost. A lesson written in light and fire, in sacrifice and courage. A lesson that would echo across the stars for centuries to come. This is the legacy of the most lethal warship ever built, and the humans who were willing to destroy it to save everything they loved. The story of the Prometheus reminds us of something fundamental about human nature. We build, we create, we push boundaries, sometimes beyond what seems possible or wise, but we also understand sacrifice, the willingness to destroy what we've created when necessary. In the vast expanse of space, among countless alien civilizations with technologies we can barely imagine, this might be humanity's greatest strength. Not our ability to build the most lethal weapons, but our willingness to use them against ourselves when the alternative is unacceptable. The Prometheus was the most advanced warship humanity had ever created. Its technology revolutionized our understanding of physics and changed the balance of power in the galaxy. But its greatest impact wasn't in what it could destroy, it was in what its destruction preserved. Earth, humanity, our future among the stars. If you enjoyed this exploration of humanity's potential future among the stars, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done in Captain Lee's position? Would you have made the same sacrifice? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to hear more stories like this, tales of humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and sometimes terrifying potential, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. I release new audiobooks every 2 weeks, exploring everything from humanity's first contact with alien life to the ethical dilemmas of advanced technology. If you found value in this story, please consider giving it a like. It helps more than you know in getting these stories to others who might enjoy them. Until next time, remember, in the vastness of space, humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our determination to survive, no matter the cost. Thank you for listening.